What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Last night during the live, I was asked a question, and to me, I thought it was a great question to the point where I wanted to do a video on it, and here we are. I was asked if I believed that prison conditions in California are worse than those in Georgia, and I rarely ever speak on out-of-state prisons. I rarely ever speak on the feds. And it's because I never did time in the feds and I never did time out of state, right? However, I think we have all seen when it comes to like Georgia or Louisiana, the conditions of those prisons, I think we've seen that, right? Those of us that have seen stuff, documentaries, news programming, whatever it is on those states compared to California. And I think that I can make an assessment that states like Louisiana and Georgia, probably the living conditions are worse than the living conditions in prisons in California. And I wanted to do a video on that and talk about that. So to me, there are two main reasons why convicts in other states live in worse conditions, have worse living conditions, living environment, cell living, whatever, however you want to state it. For me, the first one is the politics of California. Everyone outside of California says California prison politics are outrageous and you can't be your own man and this and this and that. Well, it's a double-edged sword. So let's look at it like this. Let me try to compare it like this. California prisons, the inmate population, the convict population, you can say they're basically unionized. Whereas states that have no politics, they're not unionized. And what I mean by that is, in California, if the cops decide to target one group, if they decide to target one individual from whatever faction, the cops know that there will be repercussions from whatever faction that individual's from. See, in these other states, it's every man for himself. And they wear that as a badge of honor. Whereas in California, you're still expected to conduct yourself personally to a certain degree, like to a certain standard. You are part of a bigger thing. In California, no matter who you run with, you're not just representing yourself. And so you better conduct yourself in the right manner. Because if you do not, your group will remove you, right? So when people think, oh, in California, they're safe, yeah, to an extent. But in California, it's common knowledge. 90, I'm going to say 90. I was going to say 99. It probably is 99. But a very high 90s percentage of the fact you getting whacked is going to be by your own people. Not another faction, not a rival faction, not a riot. No, it's going to come from within, right? So I feel like the CDC, the California Department of Corrections, knowing, understanding, they can't just go after one individual. That has made it to where everyone has to be treated with respect. In these other states where a cop knows, hey man, I don't like that guy right there, and they can treat that individual however they want. Maybe he has a friend or two that'll help him. But he doesn't have 20 or 30 or 50 or 100 or 200 dudes on the yard that are going to pick up a weapon and be like, nah, this ain't flying. That's the case in California. Secondly, and I think in a way, more importantly, California convicts are extremely knowledgeable in the law. They're extremely knowledgeable in their state as well as the United States Constitution and the protections that are guaranteed by those constitutions. It seems to me like a lot of these other states don't make it a point to at least have 5 or 6 homies of theirs knowledgeable of the law and able to enforce those rights. You know, maybe those other states are still stuck like in old times where they feel like you don't go to the courts, you don't write a writ, you don't write an appeal. And as long as you feel that way, the cops understand that. And they're going to play you based on that. But once you understand how to use their own weapons against them, you understand that the pen is mightier than the shank. By far. Over here in California, every year in the budget, the annual budget for the California Department of Corrections, there's something like $7 million put to the side in order to handle inmate lawsuits. Inmate lawsuits in California, not only do they get you paid, but they change the rules. These other states that aren't, and look, if these other states don't have that established, understand that if you decide, because I know a lot of convicts watch my channel, and a lot of us YouTubers that are ex-cons. If you decide, if you get motivated by something like this and say, you know what, I'm gonna start studying the law and I'm gonna start filing paperwork. If you're the only one in your prison doing that, understand the cops will jack you up. They will separate you from your property. They will do whatever they have to do, whatever they are able to do to make sure you miss court deadlines. They may whoop your ass. That's what the guys in California had to go through until they realized these dudes really are applying the law. These dudes are usually, the cops were doing these things, making people miss court dates, and then another thing would be filed to where it was pointless. It was fruitless for the CDC to try to do that. Instead, they just offer settlements. And if they didn't offer settlements, then the rules were changed, laws were changed, stuff like that. So for me personally, I believe that with those two things, for those two reasons, the politics, aka unionizing of the factions, and the ability to pursue in the courts the rights guaranteed by state as well as the United States Constitution. Those are the reasons why. Look, things aren't perfect at all in California. But I remember in New Folsom when they built the new AdSeg, the standalone unit, they called it, right? They didn't install the ventilation system correctly. And we were freezing in there. I'm talking about fingernails being purple and blue, right? And dudes getting under their blankets for a few minutes every now and then just to get warm again. And I remember the homie that filed the appeal and made them spend, they complained. They complained to him. It's going to cost about $200,000 to fix it. So what? You guys should have built it right in the first place. You wouldn't have to have that problem. And the problem was fixed. I know in a lot of those prisons they don't have AC. They have these guys working out in the fields. And look, man, the Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution protects you from a lot of this stuff. If individuals aren't willing to file for their rights, enforce their rights, then the state does whatever it wants to and whatever it can get away with. Anyhow, to me, I thought it was interesting. Wanted to make a video on it. Hopefully you guys liked the video. For those of you that have been asking me, So there's been people that are saying, hey, I just realized I was unsubscribed from the channel. I resubscribed. Those of you seeing this video, if you think you're subscribed, do me a favor and check anyways. And when you're checking, make sure you're subscribed. Also, make sure all your notifications are on all and not personalized. I think that as a channel gets closer to 100,000 subs, YouTube will unsubscribe a certain amount of people just to see if they're bots. Once they see them subscribing again, then, you know, they start sending it out to more people. I don't know, but just make sure you check your subscription and that it's on all. That's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them, man. I'm out of here.